Seeds of Wisdom RV and Economics Updates Thursday afternoon, November 13, 25. Listen to the full version on the official dinarreport.com website and become our supporter on Patreon. Good afternoon. Dinar recaps. Gaza. The laboratory of peace under the shadow of power when peace becomes the language of control rather than liberation. The U.S. draft resolution for an international stabilization force in Gaza has reignited debate over the meaning of peace in global politics. The proposal, presented to the UN Security Council, emphasizes stability, reconstruction, and civilian protection, but critics warn it entrenches outside dominance. Analysts and human rights advocates argue the plan risks replicating earlier international interventions that prioritized control over sovereignty. The two-year International Stabilization Force, proposed by the U.S. could effectively replace local governance with externally managed authority, echoing post-war frameworks like Kosovo and Bosnia. The plan grants foreign forces enforcement powers, transforming peacekeeping into direct governance through coercion rather than mediation. Economic reconstruction funds would be distributed through Western-aligned committees, raising fears of conditional aid and political leverage. Regional voices, particularly Arab states, have been sidelined, weakening local legitimacy and risking diplomatic backlash across the Middle East. Humanitarian organizations warn that expanded military mandates without oversight could heighten civilian risk and lead to accountability crises. The U.S. draft resolution exposes the widening gap between peace as a principle of justice and peace as a framework of control. When international powers shape the recovery and governance of Gaza without meaningful Palestinian participation, peace becomes an instrument of dominance rather than reconciliation. Implications for the Global Reset Pillar 1 Diplomacy and Peace. The Gaza proposal demonstrates how power blocs use stabilization as a mechanism for influence, signaling the decline of authentic multilateralism. Pillar 4 Governance and Sovereignty. External peace operations increasingly override local autonomy, reshaping international norms around intervention. In statehood. Putin ally issues nuclear warning to U.S. Russia will respond. Escalating nuclear rhetoric underscores fragile global deterrence balance. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov warned that Russia would respond in kind if the United States resumes nuclear weapons testing. U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, have discussed potential test resumption amid concerns over China's expanding arsenal. The statements follow President Donald Trump's directive to the Pentagon to restart nuclear testing in Nevada. Citing parity with other nations, Peskov's remarks mark a potential end to nearly 3 decades under the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, 1996, framework. Russia's ministries were ordered by President Putin on November 5 to assess feasibility of full-scale tests. Experts warn that renewed testing by any major power could trigger a global chain reaction involving China, North Korea, and others. The revival of nuclear testing discussions signals erosion of long-standing arms control norms. A return to testing by the US or Russia would undermine strategic stability, complicate disarmament efforts, and elevate risks within the broader global security architecture, an outcome directly tied to the geopolitical realignment now shaping global power centers. Implications for the Global Reset Pillar 1 Diplomacy and Peace. The nuclear standoff highlights the collapse of cooperative security frameworks and the re-emergence of power-based diplomacy. Pillar 2 Global Security Architecture. Renewed nuclear activity would accelerate fragmentation of post-Cold War treaties, forcing nations to seek new multilateral or regional defense alignments. Japan's Takaichi declares strategic maturity as Tokyo eyes greater autonomy. Japan signals a decisive turn toward independent global leadership. Japanese Foreign Minister Sanae Takaichi announced Japan's readiness to act as a fully autonomous strategic power, signaling a pivot away from post-war dependency on the U.S. alliance. The declaration coincided with the launch of Japan's new Defense Industrial Export Framework, allowing Tokyo to supply non-lethal systems to strategic partners. The initiative forms part of Japan's global security initiative, aimed at expanding its regional and global diplomatic footprint. Takaichi emphasized that Japan will no longer operate as a junior partner but as an equal stakeholder in Indo-Pacific security. Coordinating directly with India and ASEAN. The government approved 3.2 trillion yen in defense export incentives, aimed at strengthening domestic manufacturing and innovation. Analysts view the policy as Tokyo's assertion of strategic maturity, laying the groundwork for a broader realignment of Asian power dynamics. Japan's shift from a US-centric security posture to a more autonomous role reflects the broader geopolitical reordering underway. As Washington's influence wanes in Asia, regional players like Japan are positioning themselves for leadership in the evolving multipolar framework. Implications for the global reset. Pillar 1: Diplomacy and Peace. Japan's autonomous diplomacy signals diversification of global power centers, diminishing reliance on legacy Western structures. Pillar 2: Trade and Industry. The defense export framework strengthens Japan's domestic economy and underscores a shift toward industrial sovereignty within global supply chains. Listen to the full version on the official dinarreport.com website and become our supporter on Patreon.
Source: Dinar Recaps.